Throughout the course of human history, most men and women have lived under a state of tyranny and oppression. Freedom is the exception to that. But freedom comes with a cost, and it's been paid in blood by those whose names are inscribed behind us here in black granite at the Jacksonville Veterans Memorial Wall. These soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines paid the highest price for our freedom, yet each also leaves behind a family known as Gold Star families to mourn their tragic loss. Two members of these families work with us every day at Fleet Readiness Center Southeast. In our second segment, we'll speak with the father of Lance Corporal Jonathan Taylor, who lost his life in Afghanistan in 2009.
So what was his childhood like? I mean, what was he like as a little boy?
Definitely outgoing. He was always, everything was a big joke. He loved to joke, practical jokes. Loved to play with his Army men. That's in his room, that and video games. We used to play the baseball games. We had Atari then.
Sure.
You remember that?
I just certainly do.
You know, and we played all that for years. We played baseball together. You name it, all kid stuff.
Right. And so he was in Army ROTC and a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, matter of fact, he was in Sea Cadets. And how that all started out was one year when he was young, we were at the Blue Angels Air Show, and they had a lot of Sea Cadets walking by, and he goes, I want to do that. So I got the literature and made a phone calls, and matter of fact, June Tillett was Jonathan's CO the whole time that he was in Sea Cadets. Wow, at least 6 years. And when he went on to high school, he was in the Army ROTC at Wilson.
Right. If you can, tell me a little bit about the decision that he made to enlist in the Marines. What made him choose the Marines? Did he talk to you about it at all before he did? That sort of thing.
You always want to be in the military. I knew that early on he was going to be. So he decided to go to the Citadel for 1 year, and the biggest thing, he had a lot of friends that were already in the Marine Corps, that were already serving over there in Iraq and all, and he had went away for 3 more years to go. So he made the decision not to go back and enlist the Marine Corps. And of course, he asked me what I thought, and I said, I think you're crazy. I said, you've got the brains, you can be anything you want to be, but why do you want to be in the front lines, the infantry? He said, that's what I want to do. So I said, okay.
Did y'all get to see him before he left for Afghanistan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We did. He was home quite a bit between training. We'd see him, but he left in September, I believe it was. The last time that we all talked as a whole group of the family, it was Thanksgiving of '09. We were headed up to Raleigh, North Carolina, and I got a phone call. He got to talk to all of us on the phone, sisters, everybody. We were talking about recruiting, you know, what you going to do for Thanksgiving, and that was the last time I talked to him. It was on Thanksgiving.
What happened the day Jonathan was killed?
I remember that just like it was yesterday. It was a Tuesday. I was on the P3 mod team then, and we were in the P3 hangar that day. Remember exactly what job I was doing that day, everything. That day is crystal clear. Everything was normal. We all were eating dinner at the table, and Jonathan's mom called on the phone, and she said there were Marines at the door and said, you need to hurry up and get over here. So we all put down plates, and of course my daughters were all breaking out. What's going on? I said, we don't know. It may just got an accident, we don't know. So we all loaded up in the car and went over there to Jonathan's mom, which is only maybe a mile down the road. And we got the news that Jonathan was killed at 8:29
Did they tell you anything about the circumstances?
The only thing that we know, he was on at the time then, we only knew that he was on a patrol on foot, and he was killed by an ID. I had a hard time focusing for a while, big time. I was angry. I couldn't concentrate. I think I even took off maybe 30 days or so. And the bad thing was, it was right around Christmas Day. It didn't help any. I love Christmas season, Christmas music, hanging the lights. I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't want to hang my lights or nothing that year. But it was even harder too being here, because I'm right here where Jonathan was flown in. It was a little different. Yeah. It was hard every time I'd drive by that one gate, And then, and the whole time, even before Jonathan, his body came home, I used to go out there too, and I'd bring the flags and line it up, not to think that, maybe my son was coming home one day. Never even thought about that, But the one that I did after Jonathan was killed, Lance Corporal Timothy Poole, that came home next. That was the hardest one. The first one after that. Actually maybe 3 years ago, I was on a road trip on the mod team to Waco, Texas. And guess what? I got on that plane. This is the same plane that I was working on the day Jonathan got killed. And the reason why I knew, because when we did the repair on the outside, it was a special doubler that we had on there. It was real thick. And this was it. I'm like, wow.
Jonathan's story is a little bit different in the fact that there was someone else with the medevac team when the helicopter showed up.
Yeah, that was Lindsay Adario. She worked with Time magazine at the time, and she was embedded with the medevac unit. And she captured all the images of basically from the time that the helicopter landed until he went to the OR and was pronounced dead, which was 28 minutes. They fought to save his life, but he had apparently just lost so much blood that there was nothing they could do.
How did you feel when you learned there was a photographer out there that,
Well, my first reaction was, I want to see him. I don't care what they are, but I want to see him because I need to see him. He was my son. I want to know him. So I called her up. She was really nice, and we talked. She said, are you sure you want to see these? I'm like, yes, I do. I have to know. About a week later, I got all these pictures, and then the fun part began. Do I open this up? That was the hardest part, and it took me a while, but then I knew it was for real.
Well, and her problem was that she had to get permission from you for the photos that had Jonathan identifiably in them.
Well, they wanted to run a story, and basically it was called 29 Minutes. The rescue effort from the surgeons and all there to save his life. Both of our reaction was the same, pretty much. We didn't want their sisters to see any of these things, the magazines, their friends, oh, look at your brother. And then later on, the CEO of Time magazine called me and wanted to know if they could do a story without having Jonathan's showing his face of it's called Rescue Brigade, and use some of the pictures. And I said, by all means, they can do it, as long as it didn't show his face or have his name.
That picture's it's so powerful there in the last, the one that they used with the flag and all that stuff.
Yeah, it is. But everybody's standing there like, we've lost one.
So now you're involved with Gold Star families and that sort of thing. What does that involvement entail?
Well, for me, didn't want to be a Gold Star dad, but I am. But what I try to do to give back, instead of sitting there and I guess sulking in it that my son's gone, but always have his memory. Never I'll never have that gone. But what I try to do is, we've got 36 Gold Star families in this area here, Duval County, that on the anniversary of their death, on the evening, I go out and I flag their house, their yard, so that when that day comes, somebody remembers other than the family. That's a big thing to me, and I know it means a lot to the other families.
Right. When Memorial Day comes around, what do you wish that people would do or feel on Memorial Day, or take time to remember?
And it's fine and dandy to have barbecues, family get-togethers. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, that's what I used to do. I didn't really think about. Yeah, I did a little bit, but until John was killed, it took on a whole new meaning. But I mean, just even if it's just a couple of minutes to say a prayer for all the troops out there that are out there serving and fighting right now, by all means do it.
So what do you miss most about having your son around with you?
Well, right now, I would hope to have a grandchild. You know, him being married, talking about sports, you know. Help me cut the grass now. That would be a great one, you know. But most of all right now, what I would love to do, if I had a chance, to hug him.